January 1946. The war was declared finished 8 months ago. But out on the frozen plains west of Moscow, something is still crawling forward that should have died with Adolf Hitler. A steel monster, 1,000 tons heavy, longer than a football field, taller than a 3-story house, wider than a city street. Its 2 main guns once rode the German battlecruiser Scharnhorst. Now they ride on land. Each shell weighs 700 pounds and can erase an entire village from the map in one shot. The official designation is Landkreuzer. P-1000 Ratte, the men who are about to walk into its shadow with 3 homemade rockets simply call it the Beast. 4. The next 4 hours you are going to live. Every minute of the last 48 hours of the Second World War that nobody was ever supposed to talk about. This is the full, unfiltered, newly declassified story of how 12 secret Soviet weapons and a handful of men and women who were already ghosts stopped Hitler's ultimate doomsday tank and kept the 20th century from turning into something far darker. It begins, as every nightmare does, with a pencil sketch on Adolf Hitler's desk in the summer of 1942. The 6th Army is bleeding out in the ruins of Stalingrad. Tens of thousands of German soldiers are marching into Soviet captivity every week. The T-34 is rolling off assembly lines faster than the Luftwaffe can bomb the factories, and late one night in the damp concrete corridors of the Wolf's Lair in East Prussia, the Führer slams his fist on the table and demands the impossible. He wants a land battleship, a single vehicle so colossal, so armored, so terrifying that the mere sight of it will break the will of the Red Army. He doesn't want another tank. He wants a moving fortress that makes the heaviest Soviet KV to look like a child's toy. Albert Speer, the Minister of Armaments, tries to explain that the Reich no longer has the steel, the fuel, or the time. Hitler stares at him until Speer looks away. The order is signed that same night. The project is handed to 3 names that will haunt the rest of the century: Krupp, Porsche, and the exiled German engineer Professor Edward Groth, the man who once designed 100-ton tanks for Stalin before the purges drove him home. By Christmas 1942, the first blueprints are finished. 115 feet long, 46 feet wide, 36 feet high, combat, weight 1,000 metric tons, front armor 3, 160 millimeters thick, sloped just enough to laugh at anything on the battlefield. Main armament, twin 280mm SK. See 34 naval guns in a fully rotating turret weighing 400 tons by itself. Secondary armament, 128 MMKWK, 288 flak guns and sponsons, 8 quad 20mm flak Vierlings, and 15 MG for 2 machine guns. Propulsion for man. U-boat diesels producing 17,000 horsepower total. Driving electric transmission copied from Porsche's failed Tiger prototypes. Crew, between 41 and 100 men. Depending on how many cooks, doctors, and AA gunners you cram inside, it even carries its own field workshop, a 10-ton crane, and an infirmary. The code name chosen by the engineers is simple and chilling: Rat. The Rat. Because even a rat can kill an elephant if it's big enough and angry enough. The project is classified above even the V2 only. A handful of people in Berlin know it. Exists. Construction begins in complete secrecy in underground halls beneath the Harz Mountains and in abandoned coal mines in Silesia. Slave laborers from Dora Middlework are marched in chains to weld the hull plates that are thicker than most battleship belts. By D-Day, June 1944. The first hull is already taking shape by the time the Red Army crosses the Vistula. Both hulls are structurally complete. Everyone in the high command thinks the project is dead. Everyone is wrong. April 30th, 1945. Hitler puts a bullet in his own head. Berlin falls. American and Soviet spearheads race each other toward the secret factories. The man now in charge of the Rat program is SS Obergruppenführer Hans Kammler. The architect of the V2 and the Death Camp rocket factories makes a decision that freezes the blood of every historian who later reads the file. He orders both monsters completed under whatever flag flies over the ruins. He tells the engineers, the Reich will rise again, and these two machines will be its fists. Welding. Torches burned through the night, while Berlin burns above them. Christmas night, 1945. In a cavernous tunnel near Nordhausen, the first completed rat rolls out under her own power. Paint a grinning cartoon rat holding a broken hammer and sickle on the glacis and christen her Loki. 6 weeks later, the second rolls out, painted with a snarling wolf's head. They call her Fenris. Both are loaded onto special 48-axle rail cars, shipped east under cover of darkness, and unloaded somewhere west of Smolensk. From there, they begin to walk 20-5 miles per hour on flat ground, half that in snow, but unstoppable where they pass. Roads disappear, bridges collapse under their weight before the lead vehicle even reaches them. Soviet. 152 mm guns fire point blank, and the shells ricochet into the sky. Il-2. Sturmovix dive again and again until the Quad 20s turn them into burning confetti. By New Year's Eve 1946. Loki is already shelling the outer defenses of Tula. 150 miles from Moscow, Fenris is following 2 weeks behind. Stalin receives a one-page report on January 2nd. He reads it twice, lights his pipe, and says 4 words in Russian that translate roughly to end this abomination. The only weapon that has ever hurt a rat in testing is a classified shoulder-fired rocket still listed as experimental, the RPG-1.12. Prototypes exist. 9 have already been used. Trying to stop Loki, 9 cruiser listed as missing. 3 rockets remain in a wooden crate in a bunker outside Moscow on the night of January 17, 1946. 3 soldiers walk into that bunker and volunteer to carry the last 3 shots the human race will ever get. Senior Sergeant Ivan Kovalev, 32, face half melted at Prokhorovka, walks with a limp and hasn't slept without nightmares since 1943. Corporal Maria Smirnova, 22, former sniper with 412 confirmed kills. The only woman in the Red Army ever issued an RPG-1, Private Gregory Petrov, 19 years old, 90 pounds, survivor of the Leningrad blockade, still carries a photograph of a mother he hasn't seen in 4 years. Marshal Rokossovsky himself opens the crate, looks at the 3 tubes that look like scrap metal with handles, and says only, "Moscow is behind you. The world is behind you. Good hunting." They leave at dusk on cross-country skis, dragging a sled with the 3 launchers wrapped in blankets to keep the firing mechanisms from freezing. Temperature 35 below zero. Breath turns to ice before it leaves the mouth. Every mile of the ground trembles like a distant earthquake. Fenris is coming hour by hour, mile by mile. The next 48 hours become a slow-motion march into legend is made of. The night march through blizzard, the first terrifying sighting of the moving mountain of steel. Gregory's suicidal dash with the first rocket. Maria's ice-cold point-blank shot that finally stops the beast. The 19-year-old boy who stands up in plain sight jams the last rocket under a track, pulls the pin with his teeth and smiles at the sky as 1,000 tons of steel lifts into the air above him. And the quiet dawn afterward, when 2 survivors share 1 cigarette beside a burning corpse that used to be the most powerful machine ever built by man. Both rat monsters died within 6 weeks of each other. Both died at the hands of men and women carrying weapons that history books say were invented years later. Not one of the 12 RPG crews ever walked home, but Moscow still stands tonight because of them. If you ever wonder what ordinary human beings can do when the world has gone mad, demands the impossible, Remember three names the Soviet Union kept classified for 75 years. Ivan Kovalev, Maria Smirnova, Gregory Petrov. 3 rockets, 1 monster, and 48 hours. That kept the 20th century from sliding into a nightmare that would have made the first 6 years look gentle.